Hey guys, I'm Mike, this is Donnie, and we're here today to talk to you about my 3 favorite survival tactics, and we're also going to point out a flaw most martial artists make in terms of being able to actually fight. Okay, so first off I want to talk about the palm strike, also called the heel of hand. It's just a very simple move. All you're doing is pulling your fingers back. You're aiming to contact the heel of your hand directly either with the side of the jaw, the chin, or the nose. And you can of course also throw it at the stomach or wherever, but that's where I want you focusing, is towards the face. The next technique we have isn't really a technique, it's more of an approach. We call it aggression. And from Navy SEALs we know that you need speed, surprise, and aggression to win. Of those 3, aggression is absolutely key. I've seen fights where one of the fighters even had the speed and had the surprise. They had some really tricky techniques and they were a lot faster than the other guy. But they ended up losing because the other guy had the aggression. The aggression is absolutely key. You don't need speed or surprise if you just have aggression. And so I want to list that as a technique because we're mostly socialized to not be aggressive. However, in a fight, to survive, you need to be aggressive. And in this context, being aggressive just means kind of taking space, making that person afraid. As I'm hitting my opponent, he's going to be backing up and stumbling back and being shocked, and you want to take that space. You want to chase them down and make them fear you. That's what I mean by aggression. Okay, third technique is the knife hand, or edge of hand. All you're doing is you're causing this to get rigid by flexing, and you're throwing that either against the throat on the front side or on the side of the neck. Yes, the judo chop, you can also go at this angle. Now, big caveat with that one, only use that in the real-on scenarios where you fear for your life, because these days a lot of courts are ruling that any attack to the throat constitutes lethal force. You could get hit with felony manslaughter charges. Nobody wants that. So, frankly, I would just focus on the palm strikes. That's more than enough. But if you get to a place where you really do honestly fear for your life, then of course, all bets are off, all gloves are off, aim for the throat, aim to kill. But for average self-defense, for the bar fight, the ego fights, or maybe some mugging scenarios, you just don't need to do lethal force, and it will end up hurting you a lot more than it helps you. Okay, so putting those techniques together, I just want you to focus on aggression and palm strikes. I'm going to show you that why less is more. Okay, so essentially you want to be aiming for the side of the jaw. There's a really good pressure point there to begin with. So a 1, a 2, and then a 3 to the chin, okay? That'll daze them and confuse them. You'll hit them again in case you miss, or even the second one will miss. Even the first shot could actually knock them out if you hit them square on and correctly. And then the third shot to the chin can actually even almost turn into kind of a takedown, because it's going to throw off their balance backwards, they're all going to be hit, and they're just going to fall down. Then they might hit their head on the ground and cause a further concussion, but if they were attacking you, they kind of deserve that. So, most martial arts, I want to contrast it with most martial arts, because a lot of martial arts are trying to kind of say I'm different and trying to make themselves stand out. They think adding techniques is the way to go, and that is absolutely wrong, because in a real fight you're going to have adrenaline flooding into your body. Your cognition is going to be down, so you're not going to be able to think that clearly. Your breathing is going to be fast, your heart rate is going to be up, and your coordination is going to drop drastically. You won't have time to think about a really complicated maneuver or even a bunch of different complicated maneuvers, so more techniques will hurt you. Whereas this simple 3 palm strike could be all you need to survive 80% of the scenarios. That's not a joke. This will go a long ways. Take it and train it in a bunch of different scenarios. Have a jiu-jitsu friend take you to the ground. Have them show you some ground fighting positions. This technique will still work. It can fit in there. Even if he's choking me, it'll still work. Against a gun, it can still fit in there. Against a knife, it can still fit in there. And that's what I want you to know and to realize, that less is more. The fewer techniques you know means the more you'll be able to use them, and the more situations you can apply those few techniques to, the better off you'll be. So just by way of illustration, let's have you choke me real quick. Say against the wall. There's a common self-defense scenario that everyone points to. Now again, these techniques still work. You can either go over and still hit, if you have a big long reach like me. If not, then you can go under and twist your shoulders and still catch them. but it's just a palm strike. That's all it is. So 1, 2, 3, right? Nice and simple, he's down. Now the last part of this, you need a partner to practice this. You need to get used to contacting and aiming for those pressure points, but do it in slow motion. You don't need to be hitting each other. The other half of this technique that you need to understand is impact. You need to actually be hitting something. And a really easy way to practice both the knife hand and the heel of hand is to just take your other hand out, start striking it. Very simple way to practice it right away, immediately. Excuse me. Just doing that will get you used to enough of an impact that you can probably have it combat ready. You can do the same thing with your knife hand too. Again, with the big caveat that you should probably only use that during lethal force scenarios, and with adrenaline flowing, you might not be able to differentiate that, so I really recommend just sticking with the palm strikes. Okay? Practice in slow motion, get used to hitting something. This might be the only self-defense you ever need. That's all I got.